My childhood friend fell for a bad boy. She said he was vibrant, unlike anyone else, like a light illuminating her monotonous life. She skipped class for dates with him, got into fights and street races for him, and in a blazing fire, she abandoned me without a second thought for him. My 10 years of secret love burned away completely in that inferno. Later, I went abroad and never saw her again. I never expected that 10 years later we would meet again at a business meeting. I assumed she was happily married to her old boyfriend. Instead, she stared straight at me, tears instantly welling up. Do you have any idea how long I've been looking for you? I saw Lena Chen again at a business gala. She was looking down, lost in thought, a sliver of her swan-like white neck visible beneath her dark hair. Despite the clinking glasses and bustling crowd around her, she seemed to exist in a vacuum, an untouchable zone radiating keep away. She was instantly noticeable. 10 years had passed, and she seemed even colder than before. Her gaze towards others, like perpetual snow on an Arctic plain. Perhaps only when looking at Ryder did that snow melt into the warmth of spring. She didn't see me, just kept her eyes lowered, a hint of impatience in her features. Noticing my gaze, my friend beside me whispered, "That's the Chun family's daughter, just came back from overseas to take over the family business. Heard she's a top graduate from Oxford. Impressed the board right away, not one of those brainless rich kids. Pretty right." He winked, a suggestive smile on his face. "She's basically the perfect package. Rich, beautiful, smart." Heard the line of guys trying to date her stretches from Main Street to Elm Avenue. "Want an introduction?" I didn't answer, my mind involuntarily drifting back to the Lena I once knew. 17-year-old Lena, her skin so fair it seemed translucent in the sunlight, looking at me earnestly, a slight smile in her eyes. Her voice, like melting ice in a spring stream. "Kian, let's aim for Harvard together, okay?" That was such a distant memory. Though I hadn't thought of it for ages, recalling it now felt as clear as yesterday. I placed my glass back on the waiter's tray and said softly, "No thanks, let's go." Just then, Lena's gaze swept across the room from nearby and abruptly stopped on me. She froze. Then she pushed through the crowd, striding towards me, eventually breaking into a run, her heels clicking rapidly on the floor. "Kian," she called out, her voice trembling with disbelief. Maybe I was mistaken, but her eyes seemed red-rimmed. I pretended not to see. I turned and walked away. My story with Lena isn't particularly unique. Our families were close since we were kids. We were even born in the same hospital, one after the other. Standard childhood sweethearts. Lena was proud from birth, thinking everyone else besides her was essentially recyclable trash. Since elementary school, the love letters she received could fill half a drawer. She never read a single one, just tore them up expressionlessly in front of the boys and threw them in the trash. She certainly had the capital to be proud. Wealthy family, exquisite looks, high intelligence. At 3, she started reading the Oxford English Dictionary. At 11, she hacked her dad's company firewall, accessing confidential files, making him furious, yet helplessly proud and boastful. Only with me did she let her guard down somewhat. Lena never skipped grades in her. I was so dumb. If she didn't stick around, I'd be doomed. So ever since we were little, I'd go to her house after school, or she'd come to mine, studying together while playing. She tapped my head with her pen, exasperated. "Kian, how many times do I have to explain this simple problem? Are you an idiot?" Under the daily tutelage of a genius tutor like Lena, even an idiot would have caught on. Growing up, our grades were always first and second. Our lives were intertwined. Her mom often joked we were inseparable, like 2 peas in a pod, teasing my mom about arranging our marriage. Every time I heard that, my face would flush, but my heart soared with happiness. Who wouldn't like Lena? So beautiful, so brilliant, and her undisguised favoritism towards me alone. If the story ended there, it would have been a happy childhood sweetheart ending. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before Ryder showed up. Ryder was unlike any boy I'd ever met. To put it nicely, he was unconventional. To put it bluntly, he was a punk. He transferred to our school in sophomore year, reportedly kicked out of his previous school for causing trouble. He never paid attention in class, often skipping school to hang out. While other boys wore the standard school uniform, he wore tight black tank tops, revealing faint outlines of abs and tattoos, drawing furtive glances from the girls. He loved dating, having gone out with nearly every pretty girl in school. He didn't care about the gossip. He even treated it as bragging rights. He hung out with the local delinquents, often seen making out publicly with girls with wildly dyed hair after school. Under everyone's gaze, he chewed gum, hopped on his motorcycle, and revved the engine, letting the girl clinging to his back scream freely. In an era where everyone seemed cut from the same mold, he was like a unique firework, attracting many eyes, including Lena's. Normally, someone like Ryder and someone like Lena shouldn't have crossed paths. One was a perpetual underachiever, a bad boy whose gambling addict parents never cared for him, ignored by teachers. The other was the perennial top student from a wealthy, disciplined family, the pride of teachers and parents. Yet somehow they did. The first time Lena received a love letter from Ryder, she threw it straight into the trash. Then Ryder delivered the second one himself. He cornered Lena against a wall, smirking as he pinned her hands above her head, leaning close to her ear, blowing white smoke. "Lena Chun, I want you. Go out with me." Many boys liked Lena, but no one dared pursue her like this. I thought Lena would reject him mercilessly, just like she did with others. But for the first time, she looked flustered, the tips of her ears turning crimson. And just like that, Lena and Ryder started dating. In her, Ryder was vibrant, unlike anyone else, like a light illuminating her monotonous life. When I waited for Lena at the school gate, I'd see Ryder with his arm around her neck. He'd wink at me. "Your little childhood friend is waiting. Don't you want to go do homework with him?" His friends would start laughing. "Yeah, Lena, go home and study. Kian's waiting eagerly for you." I felt uncomfortable, frowning at Lena, but she just glanced at me coolly, then took Ryder's arm and turned away. She didn't say a single word to me the entire time. Ryder looked back, giving me a pitying, mocking smile. I stood at the school gate for a long time before finally lowering my head and leaving alone. Ryder didn't like me and didn't allow Lena to be with me. So Lena stopped seeking me out, and when I tried to find her, she always refused coldly. She stopped going to the library with me, stopped coming over to tutor me. She started skipping class with Ryder for dates, fought with girls from other schools for him, even secretly took her family's car out for street racing with him. That year's final exams marked the first time in my life I surpassed Lena to become #1 in our grade. Her grades plummeted. Lena's parents were furious and teachers earnestly tried to persuade her. But she was completely infatuated with Ryder, as if under a spell. Finally, Lena's mom asked me to talk to Lena. I didn't want to go. I knew Lena wouldn't listen to me, but I went anyway. For the girl who used to tap my head, calling me dumb, the girl who said she wanted to go to Harvard with me. She was wearing a miniskirt and fishnet stockings, her hair dyed blonde, fingers adorned with skull rings, smoking with Ryder in a small alley. Then they exchanged a kiss through the white smoke. She was almost unrecognizable from the meticulous girl she used to be. I walked over and pulled her away. Lena, pulled aside by me, looked annoyed. "Are you going to lecture me like everyone else?" I clenched my fists, fighting back the urge to shout, trying to persuade her calmly. "Lena, didn't you promise we'd go to Harvard together?" I paused, suppressing the dull ache in my chest, almost pleading. "I know you like Ryder, and I'm not stopping you. But can't it wait until after the college entrance exams?" Lena just scoffed. Then Ryder came over, put his arm around Lena's neck and planted a kiss on the corner of her mouth. He turned back to me, his eyes malicious and provocative. "Kian, Lena's my girlfriend. What Harvard is she going to with you? Who the hell do you think you are?" My face paled. I looked at Lena, but she avoided my gaze. "How about this? Let her choose, okay? So you'll finally give up. Stop staring at someone else's girl all the time." Ryder blew out a puff of smoke, nudging Lena with his elbow. "You choose him or me." To this day, I still remember that brief, yet eternally long evening. The sunset was a fiery, decadent crimson. I stood there, waiting for Lena's judgment. After a moment, she smirked, a mocking smile playing on her lips. Then, right in front of me, she kissed Ryder deeply. After the kiss, she looked into his eyes and said, "Is there even a choice?" I left quickly, getting straight into my car. Behind me, Lena stood at the entrance, pale as paper, frantically searching, but she didn't see me. The street lights stretched her shadow, making it look thin and fragile, almost breakable. I leaned back in the driver's seat and lit a cigarette. The minty burst filled the enclosed car. I closed my eyes slightly. I didn't used to smoke. It was a habit I picked up after going abroad. Tobacco doesn't bring much joy, but it offers a temporary escape from troubles. The trigger for my move abroad was nearly burning to death that afternoon. When I went to find Lena, the punks Ryder had fought with before came looking for revenge. Apparently, the leader's sister had dated Ryder and even had an abortion for him. Later, she kept bothering Ryder and got slapped by Lena. Punk couldn't swallow his pride and brought his older gang connection. That afternoon, the three of us were bundled into a van. Ryder got beaten the worst, covered in blood. Then we were dumped in an abandoned warehouse, waiting for the so-called leader to deal with us. Teenagers are resilient, though. He looked bad. It was mostly superficial injuries. Ryder woke up quickly and managed to fray the ropes binding his hands. The warehouse had 2 doors. Lena, who loved taking things apart since childhood, had even dismantled her home's door lock once. She used a piece of wire to pick the lock on the main door. Just as the 3 of us were about to escape, the punks heard the noise and kicked the door open. I instinctively looked at Lena. In that split second, her gaze landed on Ryder. She grabbed his hand and ran. My hand froze midair, my blood turning instantly cold. As Ryder left, he didn't forget to slam the door in front of me shut. That 1-second delay in opening the door meant I didn't get out. I haven't revisited the events of that day for a long time. That punk recognized me, knew Lena and I were childhood friends. With Lena and Ryder gone, the punks vented all their anger on me. They beat me with clubs until one of my legs broke. I lost count of how many blows I took. By the end, I was barely breathing. Finally, the punks set the warehouse on fire. The fire was hot, scorching. The smoke stung my eyes until they were dry, unable to produce tears. But all I felt was cold, bone-chillingly cold. That fire burned away my decade-long secret crush. But somehow I didn't die. Kind passers-by saw the fire and called 911. It must have been fate. The fire department was nearby that day and arrived quickly. When I was rescued, my parents were devastated. I lay in the hospital for a full half-month. When I woke up, I only said one thing to Mai. I don't want to be here anymore. Because of this incident, my leg could never handle strenuous activity again. I used to love basketball, long-distance running, skiing, but after that, none of it was possible. Our family completely cut ties with the Chens. Lena's parents brought her over several times, but my parents turned them away each time. After that, to leave the place that held such painful memories, my parents emigrated with me. I changed my contact information, completely severing all ties to the past. For 10 whole years after that, Lena and I never saw each other again. I was 17 then. My youth ended abruptly in such a tragic and ludicrous way. At 27, I returned to the U.S. to take over the family business. I never expected to see Lena. The moment I saw her, the pain buried for 10 years suddenly surged back, making me instinctively avoid her. Lena Chun, the name that brought so much light into the first 17 years of my life. The name that at 17, personally pushed me into hell. Actually, thinking about it, what happened that day wasn't entirely Lena's fault. Choosing Ryder over me wasn't wrong in itself. By now, I don't hate her that much, but I don't want to see her again either. Perhaps the more you try to avoid someone, the more fate insists on intervening. I didn't expect to see Lena again so soon. In the negotiation room, Lena stood frozen in the doorway, still holding the pose of having just pushed the door open. She stared intently at me, her whole body rigid as stone. After a long moment, her lips began to tremble. Maybe it was my imagination, but I thought I saw her eyes turning bloodshot. A whirlwind of conflicting emotions churned inside me, almost making me lose control. Zara beside me glanced at me. "What's wrong?" Her words pulled me out of my emotional trap. I steadied my voice. "Nothing." Throughout the negotiation, both Lena and I were distracted. I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles. As soon as the meeting ended, I tried to leave immediately, but Lena grabbed my arm. Her eyes were bloodshot, her voice hoarse. "Kian, that night, it was you, wasn't it? I've been looking for you for so many years." At that moment, the past flooded back uncontrollably. The unbearable pain, the searing heat of the flames, the leg that could no longer handle intense activity. I violently shook off her hand. "Ms. Chun, please maintain decorum," she said urgently. "Kian, I know I wronged you back then. All these years, I've thought about that day every single day. As I was about to lose control and leave, Zara suddenly stepped between us. She was tall, a good inch or two taller than Lena, completely blocking Lena's view of me. "Miss Chun." Zara's voice was casual, but her tone was icy. "Business is business, but why are you getting handsy with our CEO in public? You might not care about gossip, but our company's reputation does." Lena paused, then frowned. "This is between Kian and me. We're old acquaintances. Please step aside." Zara glanced sideways at me, my brow furrowed, feeling nothing but irritation. She turned back and sneered. "Sorry, Miss Chun, but we happen to have a meeting right now. Whatever you have to say can wait until next time." Without waiting for a reply, she took my hand firmly and led me out the door. Ex-girlfriend. In the car, I stared blankly, lost in thought. Zara glanced at me several times before finally breaking the silence. I shook my head, murmuring no. "Then did she wrong you in the past?" I remained silent. Zara cursed under her breath. "That woman doesn't look like anything good." Eyes practically glued to the ceiling, pretending to be so aloof. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" Her outburst scattered my gloomy thoughts, and I couldn't help but smile slightly. What good would it do? You gonna beat her up for me? "Of course," Zara said indignantly. "How did she wrong you? Tell me." I didn't speak. After a moment of silence, Zara handed me a bottle of water. "Next time you see her, I'll handle her for you." Seeing the regretful look on her face, as if she wished she'd punched Lena earlier, I couldn't help but curve my lips into a smile. Those dark emotions slowly dissipated. Zara and Lena were complete opposites. Lena was the unattainable ice queen. Since childhood, after returning, I'd heard bits and pieces about her. I thought she loved Ryder so much they'd stay together forever. Unexpectedly, they broke up right after I was rescued. It was apparently a very ugly breakup. Lena reportedly slapped Ryder in public, and they went their separate ways. She seemed to have seen the light, returning to the top of the class in just one semester, eventually becoming the state's top scorer in the college entrance exams and going to Harvard. After graduation, she furthered her studies in the UK and had only recently returned to take over her family business. She was the epitome of a golden child, driving a Maybach, wearing designer suits, always seeming worlds apart, even when sitting amongst others. Zara was different. Her family was also very wealthy, but she had none of the airs of a rich kid. During overtime, she'd crash on a cot in the office with the rest of us, waking up with hair like a bird's nest. She usually wore simple t-shirts costing maybe $10, always mingling with us without any rich girl baggage. Being with her was easy. Like she said, maybe I really wasn't hurting as much anymore. After seeing Lena again, I started having frequent trouble sleeping. When I did manage to sleep, it was plagued by nightmares. Always the burning fire scene. Everything bathed in scorching red. In the choking black smoke, Lena held Ryder's hand, looking at me coldly, then pushed me into an abyss. I'd wake up drenched in sweat. I took a day off, not wanting to stay home, but not knowing where to go. I wandered aimlessly. When I came to my senses, I realized I was standing in front of my old high school. I stood there for a long time. Suddenly, someone walked up behind me. It was Lena. I hadn't looked at her closely last time. Seeing her now, I realized 10 years had changed Lena quite a bit. Taller, her figure no longer thin like a teenager's, more curvaceous. Her sophisticated makeup made her look mature, yet standing there in a sleek black trench coat, I could almost see the 17-year-old Lena. But the girl who used to call me dumb, while patiently explaining problems had blurred, replaced by the one who abandoned me. I instinctively frowned, taking a step back, ready to leave. But Lena called out to me. After a long pause, she said dryly, "Kian, I've always owed you an apology. I've been looking for you all these years. I keep dreaming about that day. I regret leaving you behind every single moment." I pulled my lips into a cold smirk. What's the point of saying that now? The damage was done, far beyond what a simple apology could fix. Lena gave a bitter smile. "I know saying sorry is useless. I just want to make it up to you. Can you give me a chance?" "No need." My face was expressionless. "Lena, I don't want to see you again. Let's just be strangers." "Strangers," she repeated, her voice laced with pained difficulty. She stepped forward, looking agitated. "Kian, I know you resent me. You hate me. Hit me, yell at me. I won't say a word. But we spent so much time together back then, and now you want to be strangers?" I was foolish then, her voice trembled. but I truly regret it. I lowered my head, clenching my fists. Turbulent emotions fermented and mixed, screaming into my brain. Took all my strength to stop myself from hitting her. Lena, can you stop being so shameless? You say you regret it, so I have to forgive you? Do you even know? I bit down hard, tasting metal. What I went through back then. How dare you even stand in front of me? Pain clouded Lena's features. She was speechless. Honestly, did I hate Lena? All these years, of course I did, but not overwhelmingly so. Her choosing Ryder, her preference, was understandable from her perspective. But what fault was mine? Who could I blame? Over the years, I come to terms with it. Maybe it was just bad luck, my fate to endure that trial. I never expected an apology from her. I just wanted to never see her again in this lifetime. Lena called after me, her voice hoarse with panic. Kian, you liked me back then, didn't you? I want to tell you, I liked you too. I was just too stupid to realize it then. I didn't stop walking. Talking about like at this point was utterly ridiculous. I used to like Lena for many years, very, very much. I waited for her for many years too. But a teenager's fragile affection was like paper in the face of such a disaster, instantly consumed by flames. Now all I felt for her was disgust. So much disgust that I didn't want to look at her again. Back then, I wasn't her choice, and I no longer needed to be chosen by her. As I turned the street corner, my steps halted abruptly. A man in a faded jacket surprisingly took off his sunglasses. Kian, he smiled. Do you remember me? It's Ryder. At the business gala with Zara, I overheard familiar voices in the hallway near the restrooms. Peeking over, I saw Ryder dressed in a suit, hugging Lena from behind. I've never forgotten you, all these years. I've always thought about you, Lena. It was clear Ryder hadn't fared well over the years. The suit was ill-fitting, awkwardly short at the ankles. The former arrogance on his face had turned greasy. He had a slight belly, looking generally out of shape. No idea how he got in here. I glanced at the scar on Ryder's cheek. After I went abroad, my friends, indignant on my behalf, had someone rough Ryder up. Ryder was nearly beaten to death that time, barely surviving. My friends were all from wealthy, influential families. Ryder never even found out who attacked him, just chalking it up to bad luck. He later got into more trouble and was expelled. With no qualifications, he couldn't find work. My buddies back home kept tabs on him, sabotaging every job he found. Eventually, desperate, he resorted to robbery and was sentenced to 7 years inside. I arranged for him to receive special attention. His suffering was arguably 100 times worse than mine. It was then that I suddenly understood he was actually nothing. Ryder must have hit rock bottom. Seeing Lena again, he was now desperately trying to latch onto her success. Lena remained silent. I know you blame me, he said, eyes red. But I was scared too back then. I really didn't mean it. His hand slowly crept upwards. I know you haven't forgotten me either, Lena. Have you forgotten how much you liked me back then? You even gave up Kian for me. Lena shoved him away violently, her eyes blazing with anger. Don't you dare mention him again. Her voice was ice-cold, merciless. The biggest regret of my life was saving you back then. She looked Ryder up and down, her expression turning to contemptuous disgust when she saw his suit. The foolish infatuation of youth completely shattered by the harsh reality 10 years later. The Ryder of today probably didn't even qualify to appear before Lena anymore. Lena owned 18 companies, a true heiress. Any single piece of her clothing cost more than Ryder could earn in a year of labor. And Ryder, once radiating charisma, was now an ex-convict, an unemployed drifter. They were completely in different worlds now. Ryder, don't ever show your face in front of me again. Ryder, intimidated by her glare, stood open-mouthed, speechless. Lena walked straight away. I turned away, lighting a cigarette. What kind of cursed fate was this? Chicago wasn't small, but it still had millions of people. When I decided to come back, I never imagined I'd run into anyone from my past. Yet here they were, one after another. I just hadn't expected Lena to be completely over Ryder. Lena always seemed indifferent, but she was actually quite obsessive. Since childhood, whatever she liked, she had to have, and she wasn't fickle. Honestly, I thought Lena liked him so much back then, they'd be together forever. Turns out it was just a messy breakup. I returned to the gala, assuming Ryder would leave, but unexpectedly, he was still there and saw me. He approached me, holding a glass of wine. Seemingly forgetting what Lena had just said, and forgetting what happened years ago. He walked over with a sheepish grin. Fancy seeing you here, Kian. Long time no see. How've you been? I stared at him steadily for a moment, then turned to leave without a word. If I could understand Lena choosing Ryder back then, Ryder slamming that door shut was what truly pushed me into hell. To this day, I don't know why he did it. Was it deliberate revenge because I was close to Lena, or just panic trying to buy time? I didn't want to know. All I knew was that I hated the man standing before me, especially seeing him act so nonchalantly. I genuinely felt like killing him right then and there. I took a deep breath. Too many people around. I couldn't lose my composure publicly. But Ryder grabbed me persistently. We're old classmates. Why are you acting all high and mighty with me now? Remember when you were chasing Lena? He sneered, slinging an arm around my neck. You followed her around like a dog, but she only liked me. He kept rambling, trying to vent the frustration he felt from Lena onto me. I placed my drink on a waiter's tray and loosened my tie. Thwack! My punch sent Ryder reeling. The rest of his words stuck in his throat. I retracted my fist, which ached from the force, my gaze turning colder by the second. You dare hit me? A flash of malice crossed Ryder's eyes. He clutched his face, shouting to the crowd, Kian, you fucking hit me. Who the hell do you think you are? Someone's fighting here. Call the police. He clearly wasn't used to places like this. People around watched him like he was a clown performing, amused. Ryder's voice gradually faded. I casually took the handkerchief my assistant handed me, wiped my hand, and tossed it aside. Lena rushed over upon seeing the commotion, asking, Kian, are you okay? She checked me up and down, confirming I was unharmed. She turned to Ryder on the floor and snapped disgustedly. Why are you still embarrassing yourself here? Didn't I tell you to get lost? Ryder gritted his teeth, about to speak again, but I looked down at him coldly. Security, remove this person. Ryder was dragged out in panic by two large security guards, shouting Lena's name. Lena didn't even glance his way. Annoyed, I pushed past Lena and walked out of the ballroom. The autumn wind carried a desolate chill. I belatedly realized I felt cold. Zara ran out after me, handing me the coat she had ready. Who was that idiot? I asked you last time what's the deal with this Chen woman? How did she bully you? I clutched the coat, absorbing its residual warmth. Since the incident, I hadn't told anyone about it. I didn't want to bring it up. But now, for some reason, perhaps the autumn night was too cold, or perhaps the person beside me was too warm. After a long silence, I finally spoke. Zara was silent for a long time. I managed a small, bitter smile. Tragedies happening to others often sound like jokes. It was normal if she found it pathetic. However, she slowly hugged me, shielding me from the night. Only her warmth remained. I murmured, pretty pathetic, right? Zara whispered back, a little. But not you. Them. I couldn't help but smile. I didn't expect sentimental words from her. Zara was endearingly clueless. When guys at the office subtly flirted with her, she'd think their eyes were twitching and ask if they'd been staring at the computer too long. But suddenly, the gaping wound in my heart didn't feel so unbearable. I abruptly asked, understood. I will await your follow-up content and ensure that the character names and context remain consistent and smooth.